maybe almost abducted? This happened when I was about 16 years old, so over 20 years ago. I have 5 younger siblings and my little sister would have been 5 years old. We lived in a bad neighborhood. In the housing projects. Our neighbor was nice, but she always had sketchy looking people hanging around, especially men. One day these 2 new guys started hanging out there every day. They'd always be outside smoking or just sitting on our porch. They made me really uncomfortable. They were always staring at me and would sometimes try to get me to walk over and talk to them. Or they'd come over into our yard when my parents weren't home and talk to me, asking me if I had a boyfriend and asking me if I wanted some beer or weed. I was a goody two-shoes Mormon girl, so I was always like, no thank you, I have to go inside now. They were probably both around 30 years old or so. Then they started coming over and asking to use our phone when my parents weren't home. My parents always let the neighbors use our phone, so I never said no, but I would just pass it through the door and make them stay on the porch. They'd sometimes ask to come in or try to talk to me, but I would tell them no because my parents weren't home. Now I realize how dumb that was, because they could have just pushed the door open. But I was raised to ignore red flags and be polite and sweet at all times. We had a little dog and I always took him outside early in the morning on a leash. I was out one morning and one of the guys came outside and stood there staring at me for a few minutes and then went back in. I brought the dog inside and just a few minutes later there's a quiet knock on the door. I opened it and both guys are there and one says, "We just saw your baby sister out by the highway. You need to come get her." I panicked and ran outside with them. I started to run down our street towards the highway and one of them says, "No, we'll drive you down there. We need to hurry." I seriously took 2 steps towards their truck before I realized what I was doing. I stopped and said that I needed to go back inside and tell my parents, and the man closest to me grabbed my arm and jerked me towards the truck yelling, "We have to go now. She's going to get hit by a car." I instantly felt sick and just yelled, "Let go of me." He dropped my arm and I ran back inside my house. I ran into my parents' bedroom to wake them up and my little sister was sleeping in their bed with them. I woke everyone up because I was freaking out and my dad ran outside and the guys in their truck were gone. I never saw them at neighbor's house again. I wish I could say that my parents called the police or something, but they just kind of shrugged it off and made excuses like maybe they saw another kid that looked like your sister.